And I'm Alex, and we're going to do some book recommendations. If you like this, then read that.
So I'm sure you guys have seen this before because it's kind of popular in BookTube, but it seems like a ton of fun, so we decided to do one of our own. So we each picked out 3 popular books and gave a couple recommendations based on similarities between those books. So I'll go first, and my popular book, even though it's really not that popular, but I know people have read it before, is Across the Universe by Beth Revis. And this book is kind of about these people who go on this spaceship, and they're trying to go to a new planet, but it's taking a ton of time. So actually what happens is that the people are living on this planet, or not on this planet, but on the spaceship, and they're really going through their life and stuff. So like people have got bored of the spaceship, died on the spaceship, had children, whatnot and stuff. But basically things start going wrong on this spaceship. And because of that, that's why I recommend Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And Illuminae is a really awesome book. I read it in about 2 days this past summer, and it kind of has that similar vibe where they're on a spaceship and things start going wrong. Really wrong. But the one thing that I really love about this book is the interesting way in which it's written. So it's actually written, let's try and show. But it's written kind of in a lot of, it kind of feels like you're reading some files. It's like you have some, like this is like a message and stuff, like text messages basically, and then there's also computer dialogue, there's emails, there's reports, so that you follow the book that way and stuff. It's a very fascinating way to read it, and it's a quick read too, and I definitely recommend it because it's really intense, and you really get into it, especially in the last third or so of the book. So I definitely recommend that one.
Okay, so I want to preface this as, if you've read the one that we recommend after, go back and read the one that we said before. Like if you read this one, they work in both ways.
It does.
It works both ways. So mine are Red Cinder by Marissa Meyer, which is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles, or if you've read the whole Lunar Chronicles, which I recommend, then I recommend A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. They're both really good retellings. They're set a little bit more in the future, and then A Court of Thorns and Roses is a little more high fantasy. Court of Thorns and Roses is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and Cinder is obviously Cinderella. So this one has some really good feelings of retelling, and I really liked the retelling in this one, and the whole series for both of these, except A Court of Wings and Ruin got a little frazzled on the retelling. I was like, is this really a retelling?
It's okay. It was a little frazzled.
But overall, the retellings in both these series are really good.
Okay, so my next one is a very popular book and TV show. It is 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. And so this book, as I'm sure you all know because it was very popular, and so was the Netflix show for a while, it's about a girl who kills herself, and she leaves all these tapes behind of pretty much telling what happened and like why she did it. And it's kind of has that unreliable narrator feel to it, and also like it goes around a tragedy, which is definitely why I recommend The Sacred Lies of Winnow Blythe by Stephanie Oakes. And this is actually, I loved this book.
Did you say
So,
Minnow?
did I say Winnow?
I think you said Minnow.
Her name's Minnow. I messed up. But basically it's about this girl who was in a cult, and basically she got her hands cut off before the cult was raided essentially by the government, and she's taken into custody, and she's coming to terms with what happened to her, and she's telling the story through her own point of view. So like you don't really know what's happening for a lot of the book because she's unreliable, because she's going through her own memories and the things that she's hearing about what happened. It's very fascinating, and I definitely recommend it if you liked 13 Reasons Why, because you're finding out about this tragedy through her eyes when she herself is trying to cope with what happened.
My next book suggestion. The first one is, so this is the one that I feel like is a little bit more popular. It's newer. It's They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Adam Silvera is an incredible writer, and I feel like the book that relates has a little bit less of a relation than it should. So my recommended book would be Scythe by Neal Shusterman. So they both have this feeling of conquering mortality. So then they kind of, like, in They Both Die at the End, you get an alert at like around midnight to 1 a.m. if you're going to die that day, and then you're called a decker for the day until you die somehow. And you can die still in ways that we die today, like fires and things. but you get that alert that makes it different. And then in Scythe, they totally conquered mortality, and they have Scythes instead who have to go around and kill people to keep the population control and to keep like life a little bit more normal than it was before.
Alright, so my last one is, if you read the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, then I definitely recommend that you pick up A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Granted, I have only read the first one, but I was absolutely in love with the first one. I'm currently waiting on the second one. It's on hold right now, and it's kind of killing me because it's been on hold for like a month, but I'm fine. I'll get it eventually. But A Discovery of Witches is similar to the Mortal Instruments in that it has these supernatural beings who live in normal society, and you don't really know about them, but they know about each other. And they're kind of operating underneath the scenes, sort of like the Shadowhunters are in the Mortal Instruments series. So A Discovery of Witches has a ton of romance, it has action, it has mystery, it has a whole lot of stuff, and it coalesces in the end in this whole, basically it's a mess, like complete mess. The book ends and you're like, dear God, where is the next one? And I definitely recommend it. I've heard wonderful things about the second two books, the last two books in the trilogy, and I am so excited to get Shadow of Night so that I can finally start this one, because it is beautiful, and I just love this book so much.
Alright, my last set I feel like is the most similar to each other. So, starting is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And what I recommend after, if you read this, is Rebel of the Sand, Alwyn Hamilton. They're kind of low-key the same book. So if you've watched this channel before, you kind of know that I read a lot of desert books. I don't know why. But pretty much both of them contain desert and revolution and weird groups of people that you wouldn't expect to come together. So in An Ember in the Ashes, Leia is a slave, Elias is a soldier, and they shouldn't really, like, mix, and I don't remember their names. I haven't read this book in a while. Amani and I don't remember the guy's name. They shouldn't really mix, and it's kind of, both of them is kind of, the guy is low-key like a crown prince, so he's kind of more, like, higher class royalty. Neither of them, I don't think, are crown princes. And then, like, the girl is, like, this low-class, like, slave, and they all come together in this revolution and, like, try to, like, overthrow the government. And they both have separate plots that make them really good, but they seem very similar when explaining them.
Struggle.
It's a struggle.
Alright, well those are our books for this video. Hopefully we'll have another one of these videos at some point, but probably not for a couple months because we gotta read more books.
Oh, very true. Very true.
But that's it for this video.
Bye!